Hello and welcome to the next installment of my sort of series, PsychoPharaoh Talks. It's been a long time since my last entry, but I guess these will just get uploaded as often as I possibly can make them. Tampa Bay Comic Con just finished up, and my experiences over the last month, specifically those at TBCC, have brought a subject to mind that I never much considered in the past. What exactly makes a con unsuccessful? Now, the question is not how does a con succeed, because I think there are a ton of different answers to that, which are very subjective in nature. This quandary has more to do with something that I think, relatively speaking, is more objective. To be clear, I'm not looking at this from a business point of view. I'm sure they made plenty of money and notoriety. I'm considering the point of view of convention goers, of my peers and community. Those people who paid either in ticket, time, or travel expense to attend the con. And I think the answer can be summed up in a word: inclusivity. Does the con feel inclusive? If yes, succeed. If no, failure. That may seem a little terse, but allow me to elaborate. First off, let's talk about those of us who attend these cons throughout the year. We all go for different reasons: costumes, panels, celebrity guests, game rooms, raves, the list could go on for a long while. But ultimately, we go for the community. That is the common denominator. People get out of bed, of their rooms and jobs and lives, and make the effort to go out to a place where they can meet and spend time around and with others of us who have the same interests. Society, please stop stereotyping us as shy, antisocial people. We are not. Convention goers are some of the most community-driven people in the world. We build entire relationships around these events. I have so many friends that I only see once or twice a year, but every time I do see them at a con, it's like we've been around all the time. That doesn't mean we're all extroverts, but we all do have something in common. We made this trek, this effort to go out and be in a place with others of our same ilk. We want to feel as a part of something, of this bigger community. For most of us, this is the only time we have to feel really included in something, to be able to let go of our real-life persona and feel comfortable with ourselves and those around us. This is one meaning I attribute to the inclusivity of a con. Do I feel like I belong? This has never been an issue for me because I have never attended a convention that didn't impart this feeling of family to me. I have been participating in conventions since 2007, and never once has a single one felt unfamiliar to me. I was with my people. Even if we didn't share a fandom, we did share a passion. We understand what it is to love something deeply, to be affected by it in such a way that it changes our behaviors and lives. But for the first time at Tampa Bay Comic Con, I did not feel that way. Sure, there were moments. The hours I spent in the game room playing Tsuro or Boss Monster with a group of people were the best times, but that was the meager exception to the stifling rule of the weekend. I felt like a stranger in my own house. I fell madly in love with the conventions because they gave me an outlet to express myself and meet those like-minded people. They were a safety blanket. They brought catharsis. Missing a convention felt like missing a chance to be myself. I'm still pained every year to know that I missed a con, no matter how impossible it would be to attend them all. I always say that if I could go to a con every weekend of the year, I would do it over and over again. So the fact that I specifically chose to leave a convention early and not return speaks volumes about its success. I know I'm not the only one to feel this way. I heard many complaints about how alienating the experience was. Insults from other attendees, long stares, rude comments about cosplayers. These other people were not there to join our community. They came because they recognized the brand name from television or billboards and wanted to buy something from the dealer's room or take their begging kids. This in itself is not unfamiliar to the convention scene. Every con I've ever attended has had a mixture of the core community and normies. People who stumble into the event or were attending their own adjacent event or were staying at the host hotel. And you know what? Those encounters are some of my favorite memories. Whether it's interacting with some kids and families who happened upon the convention, or businessmen who get excited to see these wild costumes, I've met so many people who have little to no clue what's happening at this place, but still approach it openly and warmly. I think the majority of them are like that, honestly, just curious and excited by our excitement. Of course, we've all dealt with jerks and sexists and generally rude and disruptive people, but never has it been bad enough, for me personally, to ruin a convention experience. Hell, I survived MetroCon Flutog year with an overall happy and positive memory. But at Tampa Bay Comic Con, I never felt like I was in the right place. The few friendly faces I did see were a gasp of fresh air in this otherwise cloyingly negative miasma. I felt unwanted and misplaced, and not just because of the other attendees, but also because of the convention itself, which brings me to my next point. So inclusivity of the con-going community was not top priority at TBCC. The majority of attendees were not there for the community experience. So how does the word inclusivity apply to these people? Well, this convention didn't seem to want anyone there at all. They made it unnecessarily difficult for attendees to enter and move around to participate in events. Just getting inside the con was a big hassle. For starters, roads had been shut down, which made parking downtown an even bigger nightmare than usual. I never saw more foot traffic than I have at MetroCon, but the city seemed to think it necessary to reroute cars. And even after parking and walking through that Florida heat and humidity, we could not simply enter through any convenient door to the convention center. Guards had been posted at all the entrances for the sole purpose of telling us to climb several sets of stairs just to get inside, even though we were already wearing our wristbands. God forbid these 3 or 4 people yelling at us to go upstairs for re-entry could check to see we had already paid for the con and let us in downstairs. No, TBCC had money left to squeeze from us. So every single person who was re-entering the convention was forced to walk through the dealer's room before being able to go to the escalators that led to the rest of the convention. You came to see a panel? Too bad. You're walking through the dealer's room. You stepped outside to smoke or meet a friend or avoid spending $5 on a paltry corn dog? Too bad. You're walking through the dealer's room. It was a pain in the ass, is what I'm saying. And with such a ubiquitous security staff, I did not manage to find a single friendly one. Every interaction was a command yelled by a staff member who clearly did not care about your experience. They had a job to do, damn it, and boy, it would be a hell of a lot easier if all these pesky paying customers would just go away. Tampa Bay Comic Con did not care if you were happy. It did not care if you spent money to be there. It did not even care if you were there at all. From what I can tell, regardless of actual attendance numbers, TBCC will still announce whatever attendance they feel like. And if this is starting to sound like a tirade, then perhaps it is, because inclusivity is not alienating your clientele. If I have to leave my house, buy a pass, pay for parking, spend money on overpriced con food, then you had better deliver an experience that is worth my time, money, and digestive system. If you do, then that makes you every other convention that I have ever attended and remembered fondly. If you do not, then you are Tampa Bay Comic Con, and you are anti-consumer. So what makes an unsuccessful convention? A convention that does not care about you, your experiences, or even if you attend at all. It is a convention that does not include you. I could spend time talking about the mismanaged costume contest, or the security guard who physically grabbed me just because I followed my fiancé over to weapons check, instead of continuing down the path to the dealer's room, but that would be beating a dead horse. This con may have made its money, and I sincerely hope that others had a better experience than what seems to be the status quo. But this con has failed. It made no effort to include either hardcore or casual con-goers, and instead opted to command and deride its attendees, to the point where I felt I was better off to not even return for Sunday's events. I started this post as a way to discuss cons in general and their successes and failures, but I suppose what I really wanted to discuss was TBCC in particular, and the way in which it has failed me and other members of the convention community. From those I've spoken to and posts I've read, this lack of inclusivity is not exclusive to Tampa Bay Comic Con, but also is present at San Diego and New York, which is unfortunate but not surprising. I will not be attending Comic Con in the future because my time, money, and energy is much better spent focused on events which actually want my peers and I to participate. I'd very much like to hear other stories from the weekend, positive or negative. I hope that my perception of the con will be improved, and I want to know that others had a better time. But if there are more stories like mine to be shared, then please share them. Perhaps someone who cares and has influence will hear them, and the convention will be better for it next year. Let's start a discourse, because that is an aspect of inclusivity. Listening and showing respect for people is one of the most important things a person or business can do. So let's discuss and share and start the process. See you at the next con.